Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on social media for nonprofits brought to you by Hands-On Tech. This is the second in a series of free tutorials that we will be offering to nonprofits throughout the year. These will be available on our website at www.volunteerinfo.net/HOTC and on our YouTube channel. Today our tutorial is on social media for nonprofits. This is a follow-up tutorial to a workshop we offered last week taught by Grant Griglak, an account executive with Edelman Public Relations. A lot of that workshop was an interactive discussion, so while we won't be able to answer your questions immediately, you can obviously leave comments down below or email us with any follow-up questions you may have about creating your strategy or putting out content. Okay, so let's get started. Our first section talks about how social media is a natural extension of your marketing and communications mix. Our approach to social media frames it as a part of a larger overall communications strategy. We've found that many nonprofits set up social media accounts without giving much thought to how it can benefit your organization. It's always important to remember that you shouldn't create a social media account for the sake of creating one, or because someone told you that your organization needs to be there. Creating your communication strategy shouldn't start with social media. It should start with a discussion of what your organization needs to accomplish and finding out how social media can help you accomplish those goals. The function of marketing and communications is basically to create some tangible benefit for your organization. This is important to remember when setting goals for your outreach. You need to ask yourself, what is it that your organization wants to accomplish? Is it the mission of your organization to generate awareness? Of course not. People knowing that your organization exists doesn't in and of itself help your organization. You want to influence people to take some sort of action on your behalf. Once you know what those actions are, those should be the goals of your communication strategy. More specifically, social media allows you to engage in a two-way dialogue with your constituents. This is also an important point. Marketing traditionally has been a one-way dialogue where you broadcast your message into the void. Social media allows you to have a conversation with your constituents, an approach that sometimes gets lost by brands when they're creating content. The media Cloverleaf is a piece of intellectual property that Edelman Public Relations has created to represent the media landscape. They break the media landscape up into four quadrants, and as you can see, social media is one part of that equation. Traditional media includes newspapers, television, radio, magazines, and other mainstream outlets with a broad audience. These typically offer only one-way communication. Social media includes social networks like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and also forums in the blog sphere. Hybrid media can be categorized as niche publications, websites, or professional blogs. The last is owned properties, like an organization's website, corporate blog, or mobile app. Each piece of the equation works in tandem with other functions of the marketing and communications mix, and your goal should be to drive your audience to the other outlets. An example of this would be where short stories in your organization's newsletter appear in full on your Facebook page, or where you announce a tweet up on Twitter to have an in-person volunteer recruitment event. Your communication strategy will also be weakened if you don't give as much attention to one of these outlets. If your organization wants to recruit volunteers, you can't only accomplish that on Twitter. Ask yourself, how did you recruit volunteers 20 years ago before social networks existed? Did you meet with someone at your local college or university to recruit students? Just because social networks now exist doesn't mean that you should forget about these relationships. You need to do both, and they drive each other. Social media is not a communications medium that only provides for one way to tell your story. Whereas television and radio are relatively limited with your ability to communicate, social media provides you with a platform for two-way dialogue or hosting conversations via the internet. When you think of social media, you probably think of social networks like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. It also includes any place where you can host a discussion. So when you post a video to your channel on YouTube, you can interact with the people who watch it and comment on it. You can similarly have discussions on blogs and comment sections on forums or message boards. Each of these social media websites has its strengths and weaknesses in terms of which demographic or group of people uses which website, how user-friendly they are, what types of content you can share, how big their audience is, and more. Some of these social media websites, or tools, if you want to think about them as tools to help you accomplish your mission, are better suited for particular goals than others. We will discuss the strengths of some social networks or sites later in this presentation. So next we want to walk through some of the social networks and tell you what their strengths and weaknesses are for nonprofit organizations. The first is Facebook. This is the first social network most people think of when they hear social media. That's because it's the largest social network in the world. It has over 800 million users. Senior citizens, in fact, are the fastest growing demographic on the social network. Since Facebook is the largest social network in the world, it's worth considering creating a fan page just for the sake of having a presence there. Users create personal profiles that allow them to post updates on what they're thinking or doing and share photos, videos, or other content. Why this is great for nonprofits is because you can create a fan page that allows people to follow or like your organization in the same way they follow their friends, where they can share updates, links, conversations, photos, videos, petitions, or even collect donations. Facebook as a social network is particularly good for you in reaching new constituents through targeted ads, sharing content and having that shared with others, creating events, and even collecting donations. These are some of the things that you can specifically use your Facebook page for, beyond just having a presence there and hosting conversations. The next is Twitter. So most people ask, what is Twitter? It is a service for friends, family, and others to communicate through the exchange of quick, frequent answers to a simple question. What's going on? What's happening? It currently has over 200 million users, and it skews a little bit more to younger, tech-savvy generations. Users create a minimal profile that allows them to post updates on what they're thinking or doing and share photos, videos, or other content very similar to Facebook. The difference is that your updates are restricted to 140 characters. Nonprofits can create their own accounts that allow people to follow your organization's tweets, and they can retweet what you say or post what you say so their followers can see it as well. This allows you to broadcast to a much larger audience. One example here on the right of an important tweet is from the Miracle on the Hudson, where user Jay Crumbs tweeted while he was on his way to rescue passengers from the plane that went down on January 19th in 2009 in New York City. Can people change the world for the better in 140 characters? The answer is yes. Not only can you change the world, but people already have by mobilizing you towards worthy causes. Twestival was a worldwide event on February 12th to bring tweeters together and raise money for charity water. Over $250,000 was raised for clean water across the globe. On April 10, 2008, James Buck and his translator were arrested by the Egyptian police while covering an anti-government protest. James, a grad student from Berkeley, was able to tweet one word while being taken away by Egyptian authorities. Arrested. This update sparked his friends and followers into action, eventually leading to his university hiring a lawyer on his behalf and getting his release a day later. This is proof that one update, even if it's a single word, can mobilize people to action and change the course of events. How is Twitter useful for nonprofits? Nonprofits report that it's great at helping connect with like-minded organizations, providing real-time updates of a rally or current event to followers, or coordinating a decentralized group of people. These are some of the things you want to think about when you're crafting your strategy. The next section of our presentation is on strategy creation and content development. When planning out your social media strategy, you need to go through a process to decide how your online outreach will fit into your overall communications strategy. The next section of this presentation will walk you through a process of developing a strategy, executing it, and then evaluating the results. Here's the 8-step process we've outlined for creating your social media strategy. We'll go through these individually, but it includes defining your goals, identifying your audience, deciding how to use social media as a part of a larger communications strategy, educating yourself on the different tools available to you, creating shareable content, and finally evaluating the results. So the first step in this process is to clearly define your goals. What goals do you want to accomplish as an organization? You can start by throwing out a lot of ideas and then cutting them down to your 3 or 4 most important. Some options include recruiting volunteers, branding your organization as experts on a cause or issue, disseminating information about an issue or topic, promoting an event, soliciting donations for your organization, getting people to take action, or telling stories about your work. One thing to remember is that you want to create SMART goals. These are specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-based. An example could include you want to recruit 5 professionals from technology corporations to help your nonprofit, measured by the amount that agree to volunteer via social media, that it is possible based on the amount of volunteers you've recruited in the past, that are relevant to helping your organization achieve its mission, with a time frame for when you need to finish. Also, don't think about social media at this point. You'll map out how social media can help you accomplish these goals later. The second step would be to know your audience. This is an extension of the first step when you create your goals. Once you identify who you're trying to reach, it helps to create a profile of that group. Marketers will even give this person a name. If I'm an organization trying to recruit volunteers for an after-school tutoring program, I want to define exactly who it is that I'm trying to reach. Let's say I want to recruit Bill. He's 65, retired, lives in the community we serve, and he's just starting to create personal accounts on several social networks. He has a Facebook page that he occasionally checks, and he has a LinkedIn account that he's been updating for the past several years before retirement. So step 3 would be creating a communication strategy. How do you reach Bill? This slide gives a relatively comprehensive list of mediums that you should consider. You may want to advertise by posting flyers at Bill's church or library or coffee shop that he visits. Or you could set up a free Google AdWords campaign for keywords that Bill searches for on the internet. You could write a story about all the great things your program has done for local students and that you're searching for retirees, and see that it gets printed in your local newspaper, both print and online. You can include a story about your program in your organization's newsletter or on your organization's blog and try to drive traffic to either of these outlets. Next, you can figure out how to integrate social media into this campaign. We'll talk about this more in the next step, but the important thing to remember when crafting your marketing strategy is to make sure that you drive people to your social networks via your other points of contact with them. Make sure you have links to your Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Flickr, or other pages in your advertising, your PR, your newsletter, your blog, your website, and other outlets where you broadcast your message. Don't forget to create personal connections too. If 20 years ago your strategy to recruit tutors was to visit your local Rotary Club or your churches or other community organizations to pitch your program, you shouldn't neglect that outreach. While you're there, tell your audience to read stories and see photos and videos of past events on your Facebook page. Each communications medium should drive traffic to your other points of contact. That's part of creating your strategy. The fourth step is really to find a strategic role for social media. So how do you use social media to reach Bill? Find out which social networks your target audience is using. If you're looking for retirees, chances are they probably won't be on Twitter. You'll likely need a Facebook page in that instance, as the largest growing demographic on Facebook right now is women over 50. If you're looking to recruit young tech-savvy professionals, then you should definitely have a Twitter account. Maybe you need both. If you want to create videos that will resonate with your target demographic, then you'll want a YouTube channel. If you're looking to recruit professionals, then maybe you need to create a LinkedIn group. Research each platform or network and find out where your target audience engages most. That is where you need to be. Step 5 is to weigh the pros and cons of the platforms that you're looking at. There are several factors you have to take into consideration when deciding to create and maintain a social media account. The first is human resources demands. Each platform requires a significant time investment, and success requires staff to regularly monitor and update your sites, somewhere around 1 to 2 hours a week for each site. The second factor to consider is a learning curve. It takes some trial and error to understand how to use these platforms effectively to accomplish the agency's goals. The third is time. It takes time to learn the platforms, discover how to use them effectively, grow a following, build online relationships, and witness the fruits of social media efforts. Sometimes it's difficult to measure effectiveness. It can be challenging to isolate which results are specific to social media work and which are accomplished primarily because of other channels that are part of an organization's marketing and communications or fund development strategy. And sometimes there are confidentiality and ethical issues. There continues to be a gray area surrounding social media and issues of legality and ethics. The law hasn't kept up with the quick pace in which social media has developed, and common questions for nonprofit human service organizations relate to client confidentiality and staff use of these platforms. These are all things that your organization needs to take into account when you're deciding which social networks you want to use. The next step is to educate yourself. Once you have weighed the pros and cons of each platform and decided which ones you want to use, then you need to educate yourself on all the functionality of the websites. You should learn all there is to know about creating your own Facebook fan page, how to create tabs on that page, how to create an event, how to share photos, videos, and other stories, how to respond to comments and other functionality. The same is said for Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other niche social networking sites. If you have a question about a social network, you can likely find the answer by searching on Google, or you can email the hands-on tech team and we'll guide you. The next step, and one of the most important ones, is content development. This involves creating what it is you want to put out in social media. The first step of this is to really develop a tone or voice for your organization. You want to create content that is in line with your organization's brand. So, for example, the Boys and Girls Club of America has developed a sincere tone in its messaging that strikes a balance between the severity of the need of its core audience and the joy and youthfulness of its members. 826, the national organization, has a playful tone conveyed through all their points of communication. Each branch has a fictional theme, and all the communication is youthful and energetic, which reinforces the organization's commitment to youth literacy and creativity. Think about what kind of tone your organization wants to communicate as a brand. That should be standard across all content that you put out. The next step is to create an editorial calendar. Think of your platform as a magazine. In the same way that each month features a new issue, you want to space out ways to keep the information you're sharing fresh. So, for example, if your organization offers tutoring throughout the academic year, an annual benefit every July, and a golf outing fundraiser every August, consider creating content to complement these milestones. You could start recruiting for volunteers in July for a September start date and begin rallying attendance and fundraising for your summer events 4 to 6 weeks in advance. You should always have this planned out ahead of time. Next, you want to grow your community through shareable content. First, you could advertise on your Facebook and Twitter accounts that you're looking for volunteers. You could post photos of past events or videos of tutors interacting with students. You could create a tweet up for your Twitter followers to recruit volunteers, and you could create a Facebook event asking people to show up to the same event. Remember that social media is about starting a conversation, and so you aren't broadcasting like you would be with a press release. You could ask for feedback or host polls that start a conversation that you want to host. You also want to be sure to drive people to your social networks via your other communication channels. In your advertising, press release, and newsletter, be sure to direct people to your social media accounts and vice versa. One way to find out what kind of content is engaging is to look and see what other organizations in this space are sharing. It's our stance that there's no such thing as plagiarism in social media. Look at an organization's social media account that you like and see what their followers find engaging. That is likely to work for you as well. The last step is to monitor, evaluate, and reevaluate. Social media content strategy is evolutionary, not linear. You always have to be listening to your audiences and respond to their needs. Be sure to constantly recheck in with your goals. Make sure your messaging, while it always evolves, stays on track with that brand voice that you created. Assess successes and failures in your endeavors in social media, and you always be flexible in your approach. One of the greatest strengths of social media is that it always allows you to adapt your approach as the environment evolves. You want to think fluidly about how social media allows your organization to meet its goals and adapt to the ever-changing environment when it's relevant to you. In other words, don't continue to do something if it's not working, even though it's in your editorial calendar. Do things because they fit a real need. Constantly reassess your strategy to meet organic needs in real time. So that's the process for creating content and developing a strategy. Next, we want to talk about how to leverage social media to advance your organization's goals. In this section of the presentation, we want to take you through several case studies of organizations that have been effectively using social media to advance their organization's mission. An overview of some of the goals that we have is to position your organization as a thought leader in your unique issue space. Another goal is to recruit volunteers. Another might be to supplement the fundraising process. These are examples of goals that you may decide you want your organization to accomplish. Your first goal is to position your organization as a thought leader in your unique issue space. Feeding America positions itself as a thought leader in the fight against hunger in the U.S. by providing compelling content that tells its story in a creative way, but most importantly is shareable. The organization has a robust YouTube channel along with great case studies, images, videos, and more on its website. Create content that tells your organization's story in a compelling and creative way that is shareable. Make it easy for your constituents to share content with their friends. So for example, you can develop a YouTube channel to house PSAs or case studies. You can use Flickr or Facebook to allow your constituents to share photos. Or blogs, either on your website or via hosted sites like Tumblr or WordPress, which could be excellent options for sharing. Another goal for your organization might be to recruit volunteers. 826 shares engaging and interesting content with its Twitter followers on both a national level and at local levels. The organization engages its volunteers via Twitter and is responsive to them. It shares interesting content and it keeps them entertained. Use Twitter to engage in meaningful dialogue with the Twitter community and share entertaining content while recruiting volunteers. So, for example, you could promote follows and site visits with incentives. You could pose questions to existing volunteers and potential volunteers. You can engage in dialogue with thought leaders about target demographics. So, volunteer coordinators at local universities, HR representatives, and community leaders are all potential targets for you to engage in dialogue with. And then another goal is to supplement the fundraising process. Use Facebook to engage your potential donors, as WWF does. The World Wildlife Fund uses different types of content to engage its fans on Facebook that all circle back to fundraising efforts. The organization makes it easy for its community to make direct donations to adopt animals or purchase branded merchandise. So you could use Facebook to engage your potential donors by providing compelling content to engage the community. That could be photos, videos, or thought starters. You can make donations simple, like providing a direct link where possible, or consider integrating options directly on your page. And you can drive attendance to fundraisers via Facebook events. So these are all basically case studies or ways that your organization can start thinking about how you want to accomplish your goals. If you have more questions, here are some resources that you can follow up with. Over the course of the year, Hands on Tech will be posting videos exploring the functionality of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Hootsuite, and other social media sites. Be sure to check out our website or YouTube channel for more information on that. It's at www.volunteerinfo.net/HOTC. Hopefully, we've given you enough to start crafting your own social media strategy. If you're looking for more insight on strategy or have questions about social networks, we recommend you check out Idealware's Nonprofit Social Media Decision Guide. It provides excellent tools and insight to help your organizations craft a social media strategy. Another resource that you can subscribe to is Beth Cantor's blog, where she discusses how nonprofits use social media to power change. It can be found at www.bethcantor.org. Another blog to follow is John Hayden's blog, where he discusses social media marketing for nonprofits. It's at www.johnhayden.com. Lastly, please take the time to fill out the 1-minute survey that we are putting down in the description. It's really important that we get these filled out so that we can fulfill grant requirements and offer these videos throughout the year for free. And thank you very much.